You are Delphine Hartzell, and it is 11:47 at night, and your hands smell like bleach and burnt coffee, and you are sitting on the edge of a bathtub because it's the only room in the house where the light doesn't wake anyone up. You are 34 years old. You have a 9-year-old son named Otis, and right now, you are doing the math for the 4th time tonight, because the numbers refuse to change. No matter how many times you add them, the rent is due in 6 days. You have $340 in your checking account. The rent is $890. You press the heel of your hand against your eye before the tears can fall. Because if you start now, you're not sure you'll stop before the sun comes up. And tomorrow you have a shift at the diner, and after that, 3 hours cleaning offices downtown. And somewhere in between, you have to be a mother. This is your life now. This has been your life for 2 years. Ever since Otis's father decided that fatherhood was a suggestion rather than a promise. You didn't ask for this, but you got it anyway, and somehow, you keep up. The alarm goes off at 4:45 a.m., though you're usually already awake by then, lying in the dark, listening to the pipes groan in the walls of the little rental house on Chestnut Street. It's a sound you've come to find almost comforting, in the way you find comfort in things that are at least predictable. You make Otis's lunch before you make your coffee. That's the order. It's always been the order. Peanut butter, no jelly. He doesn't like jelly anymore. Hasn't for 6 months, and you still sometimes forget and have to scrape it off. 2 carrot sticks. A note, folded into a small square, tucked under the napkin. Have a good day, buddy. I love you to the moon. You write one every single day. You don't know when you'll run out of things to say. You hope you never do. The diner smells like burnt hash browns and pine sol at this hour. And Loette, who has worked the counter for 11 years and has a laugh like a rusty gate, is already there, tying her apron. You look like you slept in a dryer, honey, Loette says, not unkindly. I feel like I got tumbled in one too, you say. And she laughs that rusty laugh. And for a moment, just a moment, the weight on your chest gets a little lighter. That's the thing nobody tells you about being a single mother. It's not the big moments that break you. It's not the crisis, the emergency, the flat tire in the rain. You can rise to those. Adrenaline carries you. It's the small things. It's standing at the stove at p.m., stirring a pot of macaroni because it's the only thing you can afford, that Otis will actually eat without complaint, and realizing you haven't sat down since Emmett's answering "I'm fine, buddy" for the 100th time when he asks why you look tired. It's smiling at customers who leave you 37 cents on a $40 check because you smiled. Too much or too little, you're never quite sure which. By 2 p.m., your feet feel like they belong to someone else. By 4, you're at Wexler & Combs, an accounting firm downtown, vacuuming carpets that people walked across in shoes that cost more than your rent. You've never once resented them for it. You've just wondered, quietly, what it might feel like to walk in shoes like that yourself. You pick Otis up from Mabel Threnodi's house at 6:30. Mabel is 71, a widow, and watches Otis for $15 a day because, she says, the house gets too quiet otherwise, and your boy fills it up just right. Otis runs to you the way he always does, full speed, arms out, like you've been gone for a year instead of 12 hours. He smells like Mabel's kitchen, like cinnamon and old wood, and something in your chest unclenches every single time. Mama, guess what? He says, breathless. Mrs. Threnody let me plant tomatoes. Did she now? Yeah, she said in August we'll have so many we won't know what to do with them. You laugh. And it's real. And it surprises you a little, how something so small can feel like sunlight breaking through. But that night, after he's asleep, after you've checked on him twice, just to hear him breathing, you sit at the kitchen table, with the bills spread out like a losing hand of cards, and the sunlight feeling is gone, replaced by something heavier. There's a letter from the landlord, not threatening exactly, but firm. Please be advised that rent not received by the 5th will incur a late fee of $75, and continued delinquency may result in further action. Further action, you know what that means. You've seen it happen to Verna Coyle down the street. The eviction notice taped to the door, the U-Haul, the shame that sits on a person's shoulders like a permanent stoop. You think about calling your mother. You don't, because your mother has her own troubles and because some pride, some stubborn splinter of pride, won't let you. You think about your sister in Ohio. You don't call her either. Instead, you sit alone at the table and you let yourself cry quietly, the way you've trained yourself to cry, so it doesn't wake Otis, so it doesn't seep under his door and become one more thing he has to carry. You think, I don't know how much longer I can do this. It's not a dramatic thought. It doesn't arrive with lightning or thunder. It arrives quiet and plain, the way truth usually does. And that's what makes it so frightening. The weeks that follow blur together the way exhaustion makes everything blur. A smear of alarm, clocks and grease-stained aprons, and Otis's small voice asking, "Are you okay, Mama?" More often than a 9-year-old should have to ask. You pick up extra shifts. You sell the ring your grandmother left you. Not the wedding ring. That's long gone. But a small opal ring. Grandma Adelaide's. The one with the tiny chip in the stone. You get $60 for it at the pawn shop on 5th Street. And you don't tell anyone, because saying it out loud would make it more real than you can bear. You start skipping lunch. You tell yourself it's because you're not hungry. That's not true. You're always hungry. You just can't justify the $4. One evening in early October, the sky the color of a bruise. You come home to find Otis sitting on the porch steps waiting for you, even though it's cold, even though Mabel told him to wait inside. What's wrong? You ask, alarmed, kneeling in front of him. Nothing, he says, but his eyes are red-rimmed. Otis. He looks down at his shoes. The ones with the sole starting to peel at the toe. The ones you've been meaning to replace for 2 months. Tommy Redfern said we're poor, he says quietly. He said his mom said we're probably going to get kicked out of our house. Something in you goes very still and very cold. That's not true, you say, though you're not entirely sure it isn't. Are we gonna lose the house, Mama? You pull him into your arms right there on the cold steps, and you hold him, and you say the only thing you know how to say, which is, "No, baby, I promise you." No, it is, you will realize later, the first time you have ever lied to your son. That night, after he's asleep, you sit in the bathtub turned office again, staring at the wall, and you let the thought return, the quiet, plain, terrifying thought. I don't know how much longer I can do this. You think about what it would mean to give up, not dramatically. You're not thinking of anything dark, nothing like that, but to simply stop trying so hard, to let the house go, to move back in with your mother, tail between your legs, and let someone else carry some of the weight for a while. Maybe that wouldn't be failure. Maybe that would just be survival. You don't decide anything that night. You just cry, and then you wash your face, and then you go to bed, because morning comes whether you're ready for it or not. The next Saturday is Otis's birthday. He turns 10. You had planned, months ago, to take him to the go-kart place on Route 9, the one with the arcade and the soft serve machine that he's been talking about since summer. You had been saving for it in an old coffee tin on top of the refrigerator. $4 here, $6 there, whatever you could spare. 3 days before his birthday, the car's transmission starts making a sound like a dying animal. The mechanic, a kind-faced man named Roscoe Petrella, who's fixed your car more times than you can count, gives you the number, and it swallows the go-kart money whole, and then some. You don't tell Otis. You bake a cake instead, yellow with chocolate frosting, his favorite, and you invite Mabel over, and you tell yourself that love doesn't need go-karts. That love is a cake and a candle and a mother's whole heart in a room. But that morning, watching him blow out 10 candles in your small, warm kitchen, you feel something crack open in your chest. Not sadness, exactly. Something closer to grief for the childhood. You wish you could give him the ease. You wish you could hand him like a gift. Make a wish, you tell him. He closes his eyes tight, the way he's done every year since he was small enough to sit on your hip. He blows out the candles in one breath. What did you wish for? Mabel asks, smiling. Otis looks at you, not at Mabel, at you, and says, I wished Mama didn't have to be so tired anymore. You have to leave the room. You tell them you're getting more napkins. You stand in the hallway with your hand over your mouth, and you cry the kind of tears that don't make a sound. 10 years old, and he already sees you, all of you, the tiredness you thought you were hiding. So, well, that night, after Mabel has gone home and the dishes are done and Otis is finally asleep, you sit down at the kitchen table one more time. And this time, you let yourself think the whole thought, all the way through, the one you've been circling for weeks. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I've been fooling myself, thinking I could do this alone. You put your head down on your arms, right there at the table, and you weep, really weep, the kind you haven't let yourself do since the divorce, until you're empty, until there's nothing left but a strange, hollow quiet. You don't hear his small feet on the floor. You don't hear the door creak. You only hear his voice, soft, right beside you. Mama, you lift your head. Your face is wet, your eyes swollen, and there is no hiding it this time, no time to compose yourself, no mask to put back on. Otis is standing there in his pajamas, the ones with the faded rocket ships, holding something in both hands like it's fragile, like it's precious. It's an envelope, plain white, a little crumpled at the corners, like it's been folded and unfolded, hidden and hidden many times. Across the front, in a 9-year-old's careful, uneven handwriting, it says, for Mom. I heard you crying, he says quietly. I wasn't trying to spy. I wanted to give you this. I was gonna wait till Christmas, but he doesn't finish the sentence. He just holds it out to you. Your hands are shaking as you take it. You don't know why your heart is pounding the way it is. This is your son, your sweet boy. There's nothing to be afraid of. And yet some part of you knows, some ancient maternal instinct knows, that whatever is inside this envelope is going to change something in you. What is it, baby? You whisper. Just open it, he says. And then, so quietly, you almost miss it. Please don't be mad. Why would you be mad? You open the flap slowly, carefully, the way you might open something sacred. Inside, there's a folded piece of notebook paper, and something else, something small and rectangular, wrapped in a paper towel, taped closed with too much tape, the way children tape things when they want to make sure nothing gets lost. You unfold the paper first. His handwriting fills the page, some words crossed out and rewritten, like, he practiced this letter more than once. Dear Mama, I know, you think I don't notice how tired you are, but I notice everything. I notice you don't eat lunch. Sometimes, because you give me the bigger portion at dinner. I notice you wear the same coat, because you say you don't need a new one. I notice you cry in the bathroom when you think I'm asleep, even though you're really quiet about it. You always say, we're gonna be okay. I believe you, but I wanted to help too, because you always help me, and I never get to help you. So I've been saving my money, the money from raking Mrs. Threnodi's leaves, and the $2 the tooth fairy left me, and the birthday money from Grandma. I know it's not much, but I want you to have it, for the rent, or for whatever you need. I don't need toys. I just need you to stop being so sad. I love you more than the moon, Mama. That's what you always tell me, so I'm telling you back. Love, Otis. Your hands are trembling so hard now that the paper shakes like a leaf caught in wind. You unwrap the paper towel with fingers that don't feel like they belong to you. Inside is a small stack of bills and coins, crumpled ones, a couple of fives, a great many quarters, and dimes, and a folded piece of paper that turns out to be a hand-drawn certificate, the kind a child makes with markers and a ruler that isn't quite straight. This certifies that Otis Hartzell gives all his savings to his mama, Delphine Hartzell, because she is the best mom in the whole world, and she deserves to rest. There is $43.75 in that envelope. It is, without question, the most valuable thing anyone has ever given you. You don't say anything for a long moment. You can't. Your throat is closed around something too large for words. Otis is watching you with wide, anxious eyes. The way children watch adults when they're not sure if they've done something wonderful or something terrible. Are you mad? He asks again, smaller this time. You pull him into your lap. He's getting too big for it. His legs dangle almost to the floor now, but he lets you anyway, and you hold him so tight he makes a small oof sound. And you press your lips to the top of his head, and you finally let the words come. Mad? Your voice cracks on the word. Baby, I have never in my whole life felt so loved. So it's okay that I've been saving it? I know it's not enough for the rent. It's not about enough, you say, and you mean it more than you've ever meant anything. It's about you seeing me. Really? Seeing me? Do you understand what that means to me? He shakes his head slightly, not understanding. And that's all right. He's 10. He doesn't have to understand it yet. He just has to know that whatever he did, it mattered. It mattered more than he could possibly know. Every single day, you tell him, you make me want to keep going. Do you know that? On the days I don't think I have anything left, you're the reason I find more. Even when I forget to bring my lunchbox home, a laugh escapes you, wet and surprised, right in the middle of the tears. Even then, he grins, and for a moment, he's just a little boy again. Not a child who's had to grow up faster than he should have. Not a boy who's watched his mother cry more times than any child should witness. Just Otis. You're Otis. I want you to keep this money for yourself, you tell him gently, pressing the paper towel bundle back toward him. Buy yourself something. Anything you want. He shakes his head, firm, the way he gets when he's decided something and won't be moved. No, I want you to have it. I already decided. You look at this small, fierce, generous person. You made this boy who noticed everything you thought you'd hidden so carefully, who spent months quietly gathering coins with the singular purpose of easing his mother's burden, and something shifts inside you, something that had gone dim. These past weeks flickers back to life. You realize, sitting there with your son in your lap and $43.75 in crumpled bills between you, that you had been wrong about something important. You'd been telling yourself you were failing him, that the tiredness, the sacrifice, the thin walls between struggle and collapse, that all of it meant you weren't giving him enough. But he doesn't see a mother who isn't enough. He sees a mother who is everything. He sees a woman who gets up every single day and fights for him. And he loves her so fiercely that he emptied his own pockets just to try to fight alongside her. You were never failing him. You were teaching him, without ever meaning to, what love looks like when it refuses to give up. You don't remember exactly what happens over the next few weeks. It blurs the way hard seasons do, but you remember this. Something in you had shifted that night. Some quiet reserve of strength you didn't know you still had access to. You called your sister in Ohio the next morning, not out of desperation, but out of something closer to humility, the understanding that reaching for help isn't the same thing as failing. Your sister cried on the phone. She said, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" And you didn't have a good answer, except that pride is a heavy thing to set down, even when your arms are already full. She wired you $200 that same day. Not enough to solve everything, but enough to breathe. Mabel, when she heard, because Otis, bursting with pride, told her the whole story about the envelope, quietly started sending Otis home with extra portions of stew and casserole. Because I made too much. Dear, you'd be doing me a favor taking it. You know, she didn't make too much. You let her have the lie, because some kindnesses are meant to be received gently, without argument. You picked up a fourth job for a few months. Weekend hours at a bakery, which turned out to be the one job that didn't feel like it was draining you, because you loved the smell of bread rising, loved the quiet hours before dawn, shaping dough with your hands. The bakery owner, widower named Elmore Castello, noticed your work ethic, your reliability, the way you never once complained, even when your hands cracked from the cold ovens. 6 months later, he offered you a full-time position, better pay, actual benefits, a schedule that let you be home for dinner every single night. You cried when you got the offer. Good tears, this time. The kind that come from a door opening after you'd spent years pushing against walls. The $43.75, you never spent it. Not really. You put it in a small jar on the kitchen windowsill, and you added to it sometimes when you could. And you told Otis it was our jar, now the beginning of something, though neither of you was quite sure yet. What? Otis is 12 now. Taller. His voice has started that awkward, cracking thing that boys' voices do. He still leaves notes for you sometimes, hidden in your coat pocket or tucked into your work bag. Not every day anymore, but often enough that you know he still sees you, still notices. Last month, you finally got the money together to fix the sole on those old shoes. No, that's not quite right. You bought him new ones. The old ones, peeling at the toe, sit in the back of his closet. He asked you once why you kept them. Because, you told him, some things you don't throw away. Some things remind you where you've been, so you can be grateful for where you are. You still think about that night sometimes. The bathtub turned office. The coffee tin math that never added up. The quiet, terrifying thought that you couldn't keep going. You were wrong that night. Not about the struggle. The struggle was real, every bit of it. But you were wrong to believe that struggling meant you weren't enough. Because on the very worst night, in your very darkest hour, your son walked in holding everything. He had every coin, every crumpled bill, every ounce of love a 10-year-old heart could hold. And he handed it to you without hesitation, because he had been watching you fight for him his whole life. And he simply wanted to fight for you too. Motherhood, you've come to understand, isn't measured in the money you have, or the go-karts you can afford, or the lunches you skip so someone else can eat. It's measured in the moments your child chooses, without being asked, to love you back. You didn't give up that night, and you never will again. No, not because the struggles disappeared, but because you finally understood something true. You were never doing this alone. You had a son who saw you all along, exactly as you were, and loved you anyway. That is the envelope's real gift, not the money inside it. The reminder that even in your most exhausted, most broken moment, you were already someone's whole world. And sometimes, the greatest proof that you are enough isn't found in what you accomplish. It's found in the small, trembling hands of a child who loves you exactly as you are, and reaches out to hold you up, just when you thought you had no one left to catch you.
If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Thank you.